Chapter 550, Effects of the Sea Prayer Ritual. Lumion hesitated, embodying the character of the adventurer, Louis Barry, grappling with the unfamiliarity of Highlander. Once Lugano finished translating Nolia's words, he nodded gently, sporting a welcoming smile as he spoke in Intijan, "Come in, please." Simultaneously, he rose from his seat. Lugano, who had already reached the door, opened it. The figure outside indeed proved to be Nolia, the combat nun of the Fertility Order. Contrary to expectation, she wasn't cloaked in black or adorned with religious headwear. Her thick, black, curly hair flowed over her brown leather armor, and her lively light blue eyes exuded energy. Lumion noticed the pair of straight swords strapped to Nolia's back and the revolver at her waist. Smiling, he stepped forward. "Thank you for your assistance." Previously dependent on Lugano's translation, Nolia replied in Intijan, "How did you know I was here to help?" Lumion didn't conceal his intentions for today's performance. He raised his hand, pointing at his head, indicating deduction. Of course, his gratitude stemmed from her aid in digesting the Conspirer potion. Nolia's thick eyebrows twitched approvingly as she nodded. Then she turned her gaze to Lugano and Ludwig, as if seeking Lumion's opinion on whether to have them leave. Lugano's expression made it clear he preferred not to be part of it. Sparing Lugano, Lumion gestured for him to take Ludwig outside, perhaps for street snacks. After the two departed the suite, Lumion remarked to Nolia, "You actually know Intijan. You didn't say a word of it earlier." Nolia replied with a smile, "We often take turns guarding the mountain passes in the southern foothills of the Pires mountain range." The Pires range, termed by the Fainapotter kingdom, referred to the Darij mountain range. Shepherds frequently traversed it, entering the plains and pastures of Gaia and other provinces. Without awaiting Lumion's further inquiry, Nolia tucked her hair behind her ear and grinned. "It's impolite to have a lady standing and chatting with you." Only then did Lumion invite Nolia to sit on the divan while he chose the armchair. Nolia gazed at him and continued, "Port Santa's sea prayer ritual dates back to the late 4th epoch. It's over 1,000 years old and can be considered ancient. The church once purged it, relocating all relevant insiders and purifying all participants. However, less than 100 years later, someone here began secretly conducting the sea prayer ritual again." She didn't explain why she shared this history. It seemed like she was merely recounting. "They didn't continue purging it afterward?" Lumion inquired. Nolia pursed her red lips and replied with a solemn expression, "In this matter, the brass's orders are often contradictory. Sometimes they let our fertility order handle it, other times they signal us to observe for a while. All of this has been permitted by a second-in-command blessed." Lumion, drawing knowledge from Madame Magician, the Curly-Haired Baboons Research Society, and other sources, had come to understand that the Earth Mother Church operated on two major systems: favored and blessed. Favored referred to beyonders of the Earth and Moon pathways among clergymen. Meanwhile, blessed encompassed beyonders of other pathways favored by the Earth Mother. Orders from a favored required at least one second-in-command blessed to be valid. Without this, they risked being considered products of the influence of evil gods and demons. Lumion found the Earth Mother Church's intricate system perplexing, seemingly designed to guard against the favored. Nevertheless, he believed that there must be a reason behind such complexity. Having undergone numerous experiences, he became increasingly aware that seemingly inconspicuous rules in the mystical world often held lessons etched in blood. After a moment of contemplation, Lumion inquired, "Are you a favored or a blessed?" "I'm a blessed," Nolia replied without delving into the specifics of her pathway. Lumion nodded slightly, indicating for her to continue. Nolia smiled inside. After a long period of repetition, we eventually reached an unspoken agreement to allow the sea prayer ritual. At the very least, it brought prosperity to Port Santa without causing social chaos or significant disruptions beyond the participants. That decision was made ages ago, and while ancient dossiers provide a rough understanding, the exact reasons convincing matriarchs, presidents, and archbishops remain elusive. Essentially, the sea prayer ritual has evolved into a traditional folklore in Port Santa, fostering prosperity in maritime trade and fisheries. Crossing her arms over her chest, Nolia intoned with piety, "Life's precious embrace, the harvest's grace." Lumion, intrigued, narrowed his eyes and inquired, "Why did you change the prayer gesture? Is there a problem?" Nolia opened her eyes and grinned. This was a gesture frequently used in the past, but as Earth Mother regained some lost authority, we adopted a new posture for formal occasions. She rose, positioning her legs slightly apart, hands raised high, and passionately explained to Louis Barry as if preaching. The feet connect to the benevolent earth, and the palms reach towards the spiritual sky. In the middle resides the light of life. This is the domain of the mother of all things. One can regain some of their lost authority. Lumion was puzzled, but that wasn't the focal point. Nolia settled back into her seat and continued. While we haven't deciphered the core process of the sea prayer ritual, years of surveillance have yielded some insights. The governor of the sea, who successfully gains the sea's favor, wields the power to control this stretch of the sea, preventing shipwrecks. However, this seemingly comes at the cost of their lives and something more. Simultaneously, the ritual triggers rapid reproduction and thriving life in the area, ensuring fishermen a bountiful harvest. It also intertwines with fate. Families with maidens of the sea in their lineage tend to experience good fortune, not just due to preferential treatment. The sea prayer ritual's effects are intricate, wielding the power of the sea domain and influencing fate, reproduction, and abundance. Lumion struggled to grasp the reasons behind these occurrences. Nolia peered into Lumion's face, her eyes bright yet gentle, and said, "The committee members of the Fisheries Guild, some villagers from Milo Village, and participants in the core process of the sea prayer ritual have all acquired mystical powers. We once confronted the little devils you encountered. When pursuing certain criminals, we discovered them transformed into lizard-like monsters. Humanoid lizards, similar to the Paco families. Lumion hadn't anticipated obtaining any clues from Nolia. Nolia smiled. Later, we found a commonality among those who can transform into lizard. Like monsters. What is it? Lumion couldn't conceal his curiosity. Nolia replied with a faint smile. Their mothers were once maidens of the sea. Maidens of the sea's children? Child of the sea? Which of Rubio's siblings did I kill? Not only did he transform into a humanoid lizard, but he also went mad and severely injured his mother. Lumion swiftly connected the dots, sensing he had grasped the essence of the Paco family's commission. Yet confusion crept in. If this information is known to families with maidens of the sea, why would the Paco family conceal it from Juan Aro and other committee members in the Fisheries Guild? Nolia didn't seek his thoughts and teased, "After confirming the link between the lizard-like monsters and the sea prayer ritual, we intentionally alerted the Fisheries Guild committee members. Since then, no such criminals have surfaced. They show discipline and restraint. This is why, at times, I understand why the brass tacitly permit the sea prayer ritual in Port Santa. The participants are more obedient and easily controlled compared to adventurers like you." Nolia implied, "I just advised you to stay away from the Fisheries Guild. Yet, the next day, you stormed into the governor of the sea's residence, pointing a gun at Juan Oro's head. That's much more troublesome than those involved with the sea prayer ritual." Lumion smiled, choosing not to comment. Nolia pondered for a moment, locking eyes with him. "I'm not sure why you're investigating the sea prayer ritual, and I don't want to know. What I can say is, if your actions endanger all of Port Santa, we will step in and expel you. With that condition, we might offer some assistance." Lumion picked up the straw hat beside him and pressed it against his chest. "It would be an honor." Nolia left the Earth Mother Church's objectives in this matter unspoken, and Lumion chose not to delve into it. The combat nun of the Fertility Order rose, making her way toward the door. With her left hand on the handle, she abruptly turned around, her eyes sparkling as she asked with a smile, "Do you want to have a child here?" Lumion was taken aback. "Madame, aren't you changing the subject too quickly?" Nolia's eyes held a maternal glint as she said with pity, "According to our assessment, the sea prayer ritual is at least as dangerous as a saint or a grade 1 sealed artifact when fully utilized for a short period. I don't know what you're up to, but once you're involved in this matter, You can't escape just because you want to. Before that, have you considered leaving a descendant for yourself? I can help you. Are your Earth Mother Church's combat nun's way of inviting someone to a one-night stand so special? Lumion was momentarily speechless. Nolia spoke sincerely. Descendants are the continuation of our lives. Flowers wither and fall to the ground, only to bloom into a more brilliant scenery the next year. Are you really not considering having a descendant? Not for now, Lumion replied with a cold expression. Nolia expressed regret. Whenever you think it through, come to me. With that, she opened the door and walked out.